So, my background is I actually did my PhD in mathematics back at Berkeley, and I have worked for all kinds of companies, startups through Fortune 500s, helping them with technology throughout my life. We look at AI as assistive intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence. And one of the things we do with clients is we really try to get them to understand that AI works better when it's helping amplify the human mind, when it's helping people achieve really good results. 95% of projects were failing. But one of the things that people didn't notice about that study is when big organizations were bringing in outside help, especially smaller vendors, their chance of success went from 5% to well over 67%. We think the future of AI is really bright. In fact, we think we're at the beginning of a 30 to 40 year expansion of AI into the enterprise, into people's lives.
Hello everyone, welcome to BetterTech. So today I have Oliver with me. Hello Oliver, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on BetterTech today.
Thanks for making the time. So Oliver, before we really get started, can you briefly tell me a bit about yourself?
Sure. So, my background is I actually did my PhD in mathematics back at Berkeley, and I have worked for all kinds of companies, startups through Fortune 500s, helping them with technology throughout my life. And then around 2020, I really saw a need to help companies adopt AI into their technological stacks. And so I founded smartR then, and I've been creating AI applications for clients since then.
So, I mean, you touched upon your articles, your post, something about assistive intelligence. So
That's
how do
right.
you believe that? What it is exactly?
Yeah, so we look at AI as assistive intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence. And one of the things we do with clients is we really try to get them to understand that AI works better when it's helping amplify the human mind, when it's helping people achieve really good results. A lot of people look at AI as, oh, this is going to save me money so I can get rid of a bunch of people. And in reality, they're often disappointed in the results, and it's a lot more expensive than they thought it was going to be, because it's really hard to get AI to solve every problem. But when you start looking at AI as something that can help work with people, assist people, you get a much more powerful combination.
So the tool or the product that you have, it's called smartR AI, right? So what it is exactly?
So Smarter is actually the company, and we started off as a pure consulting company back in 2020.
Mhm.
But we saw the same kind of problems coming up over and over again with our clients. So we created the Scotty line of products. And Scotty's represented as a little dog. You can see Scotty right here. And Scotty is your loyal AI companion. And Scotty's really designed to be an assistive technology to help people solve data problems and information problems they have inside their organization. And so we
Mhm.
work very hard with companies to adapt Scotty to their specific use cases and make
Okay.
Scotty a useful companion to their workers.
So Scotty primarily, I mean, talks about something which is called like, I would say small language models, right? Instead of large language models. So how do you compare and contrast the small versus the large? I mean, is it not like a human model or like something like GPT or, I mean, what it is?
Yeah, so we focus on what we call private AI. So these would be AI systems that people actually have inside their own environment. So inside the corporate IT tenancy. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our clients do not want their data shipped out to ChatGPT or sent out
Okay.
to even Google Gemini. So instead, what we do is we use much smaller models frequently because that is much more appropriate for the corporate IT environment that have been highly specialized to solve specific problems that the client has. And as a net result, Scotty can run at a fraction of the cost, at a fraction of the power usage of what people might be doing with trying to do stuff with the big models like OpenAI or through Microsoft, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, with smarter AI, I mean, you also talk about getting meaningful and behavioral insights from IoT devices. So, can you walk us through like what happens behind the scenes? How does it actually work?
Yeah, so with Scotty, it's really an application. It's a software application like you might consider just a traditional software application,
Mhm.
but it happens to use AI as components inside that software stack. So it's got all the kind of traditional code that you would expect a software program to have, plus then it's got these modules that are actually AI components, and they all work together as a cohesive whole. And that allows us to solve interesting problems by combining the traditional code along with now this new capability, this AI functionality. And so it's a really exciting era because we can tackle problems that were just not possible to do with conventional code, and we can enhance that conventional code, as opposed to some people are just trying to solve everything on the AI side. You know, they try to make these AI models to solve everything. We take the approach of let's take code at what it's good at doing and take AI at what it's good at doing and combine them together again and create something that is stronger than just one or the other.
So essentially, I mean, if we talk about it, you mentioned that it is like hosted within the organization. It's like data is private and everything. So then there are like no sort of public sharing, right? But how it is helping you to penetrate within your customers? I mean, are you primarily working with like very large corporates or fortune companies on their use cases, or they are more geared towards small and medium businesses? Because SMBs and SMEs, they might not be very, I mean, they would be, but I mean, data security might not be like the core components for them, right? So
That's right, yeah.
yeah.
So our primary markets are in aerospace and defense, and then we also have another group in medical, and then finally we do some stuff in the educational space because wherever people need that privacy tends to be where we end up working effectively with clients. So when you're looking at the aerospace and defense industry, you tend to be looking at quite large companies in that particular case. And once again, in the medical space, you are often looking at significant size companies, although we have done some work for startups in the medical space as well, where they once again just need that privacy and they've got, venture backed funding, so they got some capital to be able to spend to deploy these kind of tools internally. So those are our primary markets, but aerospace and defense is really kind of our key market right now.
Okay, and I mean, Edge AI is taking up quite a lot of traction as well in terms of like, I mean, people would really want their models to be deployed on the edge, I would say. So with
Yeah.
Scotty, what you have observed, I mean, do you have customers primarily running it within their infrastructures, or you have customers who are leveraging Edge AI to run Scotty, or it's a mix and match?
It's a bit of a mix and match right now, what we see. So we've definitely got customers that are running it right on their own hardware in their data centers. We have other
Mhm.
customers that run it in their private tenancy on Azure or AWS. Um, right now, the model of Scotty is too big to actually push onto a cell phone. But that could change over the next 5 years. There's a lot of interesting tech coming out. So you typically need a server to run Scotty, but they don't need to be wildly expensive. For example, we got one aerospace client right now that's running it very effectively on about a $25,000 server. So you don't need to spend a fortune to bring up this technology and use it inside your corporate environment.
Another very important point here is about the implementation of AI pilots, etc. I mean, within organizations, everyone wants to adapt AI. I mean, they just want to have AI injected in whatever they are doing, but they don't have like sort of clear use cases defined as where AI would make a difference, right? So the
Yeah.
thing really is that what you have seen in your experience, I mean, do most projects actually stuck at the pilot level and they don't see the sunshine? Or, I mean, do they actually get rolled out to production in the hands of actual users? Or it's somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think MIT had a study that came out last month that
Exactly. Yeah.
Fortune magazine covered, and they basically said that 95% of projects were failing. But one of the things that people didn't notice about that study, which was also contained in there, and the Fortune article mentioned it, is when big organizations were bringing in outside help, especially smaller vendors, their chance of success went from 5% to well over 67%. And so you had a 13 times greater chance that your project was going to deliver the ROI and get rolled out. And so we're kind of on that, hopefully that 67% side. So not every project we do goes into production, but the majority of ours do go into production systems. And one of the things we do is we work very hard with our clients to identify the use case and then identify the right way to apply AI to that. And part of that is looking at it as an assistive technology. And another part of that is looking at it so that AI doesn't become a failure point, a critical failure point in their processes, but instead almost becomes like an extra set of eyes to help avoid problems in their workflows where we're implementing it. And so we go through a lot of effort to try and make sure that AI is going to be successful. And we've now worked with over 25 major clients on 50 plus projects. So we have a lot of experience in how to make AI work effectively for them. And that's the advantage of going out to an organization that has a lot of experience doing AI, because we can guide you and say, well, yeah, your idea is great and the ROI looks good, but really this is the bit of the workflow we should start with AI, because this is where you're going to get the payout. Even though it's maybe not as glamorous or it's not doing the complete project you want to do, but it's the low risk, easy approach to actually get something implemented and working. And then you can build upon that. It's relatively easy to build upon success, but if you try to take on everything at one time, you tend to end up with the situation that the project just stalls out because it doesn't meet the goals that you've set for yourself.
Right. So there's also quite a lot of discussion in general that AI is going to take a lot of jobs. People are going to become jobless and workforce is going to be really affected and everything. And then there is another opinion that people who will not be leveraging AI in the future will actually be out of work. Not not everyone is going to be like that. So what are your thoughts on that? Are you more towards like on the first side where people are thinking that it will take all the jobs or most of the jobs, or you are more of the opinion that people will be able to do more with AI as far as they know how to use it? Or you think that it's going to be a mix and match between the two?
Yeah, so we published an article a couple of years ago in Computer Weekly. I think it was towards the end of 2023, where we were predicting that there was going to be a shortage of data analysts and business analysts because of the fact that we felt AI was going to be such an enabling tool that their value creation ability for the organization would scale up so much that people are going to go, I don't want to fire these people. I want to go hire more of these people. Because if you're creating value, then the organization's first reaction is usually we should get more of these people because they're actually growing the business for us. So we see some distinct areas where we think there are going to be labor shortages created by AI. But I think it's also fair to say there are going to be some areas that are going to be affected by AI and actually see job reductions. And I think that's been pretty normal in a lot of technological revolutions where there have been job losses, but there's also been job creations. And in virtually every technological revolution we've seen, ultimately it leads to much more job creation than it does to job destruction. And I don't see any reason why AI is going to be different from that in this particular case. So there are definitely going to be some good areas to go into with AI that we think are going to see a lot of growth with this kind of technology.
So you mentioned in the very beginning that you had been associated with startups as well, and you have worked in different corporations too. So if you would have to start a company in this age of AI, what sort of things you could have done differently?
Oh, I think we'd do quite a bit differently. When we started it in 2020, no one had ever heard of ChatGPT, and it wasn't AI was not really a buzzword that people talked about much back in 2020. And so we didn't really focus on building a sales and marketing team at all. And my way of getting business was pretty much just calling people up, going, "Hey, I got this idea. I think we could solve this problem that you have." Often previous clients. And then, people go, well, that's interesting, and would try it, and they go, that looks good, and a project would develop out of that. When ChatGPT came along, it became a very noisy and confused world with everyone out there trying to sell AI. And we were caught a bit flat-footed, in all honesty, and we had to start building sales and marketing and PR and all those kind of activities. And I would have started that as soon as we got the company going, now in retrospect. But, at the time it was fairly easy for us to get work. Now you have to work a lot harder because you're competing against all kinds of other people out there that are trying to sell products and services in AI.
Before we close, I mean, where do you see the future, especially in the terms of assistive intelligence? And what sort of things you are doing at Smart AI or Smarter AI to basically, I mean, catch up the wave?
So we think the future of AI is really bright. We don't view this as kind of this one-hit wonder that's going to be over and everything goes back to normal in the next year or two. In fact, we think we're at the beginning of a 30 to 40 year expansion of AI into the enterprise, into people's lives, and we think it's going to make a big difference across the board. One of the areas that we're really interested in is, as I mentioned, things like aerospace and defense, but we're also very interested in robotics and how that's going to impact people's lives, how that can help people. Once again, assistive intelligence can come to the edge then, we think, in robots and help people with, say, mobility problems or aging and that kind of stuff. So we're very interested in that area as well. And we think the tech is just getting there right now to allow us to start looking at some applications in that kind of space. So we think the future is very bright for AI. We think it's going to have a huge impact. We do think there's probably a bubble right now, and that we'll see a big contraction in the amount of AI companies and stuff out there over the next 2 or 3 years. But it's not going to stop AI from continuing to grow and be a significant part of the ecosystem across the globe, I think.
So, Oliver, with this, we will close our today's discussion. So, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And I hope that we will have you again on Better Tech with a different topic.
All right, thank you so much for having us today.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.